right, so where do I begin? So I guess the reason that I'm making a return to YouTube is because I had this transformation video that I'll put up right here. We'll save this area of the screen for kind of me posting the videos in the comments and kind of like some shots of, I guess, my progress, my transformation from when I started bodybuilding and training to kind of where I am now. So essentially, I made a transformation video of my progress over the last 5 years. So from my first show, what I looked like before I started preparing for my first bodybuilding show ever, which was back in 2019. So I was 20 years old when I competed in my first show. I was natural and really had no idea about anything to do with bodybuilding. You know, I had been training for probably 2 years at this point, bodybuilding style, and really consistently, like, eating proper food, and, training hard, and I guess the hypertrophy style of training. But to give you guys some background on, I guess, my story, because those of you who are new here, I just want to give you like a little rundown on who I am, what I'm about, and how I got here. So I played competitive hockey for most of my life. I started when I was 4 and played until I was 21. And I'm from Newfoundland, Canada originally, and I'm currently living in Ontario near Toronto. I played competitive hockey for most of my life. I loved the sport. I was born with scoliosis, which is like a curve in your spine essentially. So I spent about 6 years of physio trying to correct that and not necessarily rehabilitate myself, but get it to the point where I was safe enough and strong enough to play hockey with minimizing risk. So after I finished physio, I was referred to a personal trainer, and this was probably when I was 13. And so with this trainer, I started weightlifting. That's when I originally started weightlifting, but it wasn't like bodybuilding style of weightlifting. We were doing a lot of compound movements like deadlifts, squats, kettlebells, agility work, stuff that would have a lot of carryover into my sport, which was hockey. So the main focus was not building muscle; it was more so building strength, stability, and preventing myself from getting injured badly playing hockey. So fast forward to when I'm 20, I had a number of concussions by this point. Hockey is obviously a rough sport, and I got hit a few too many times in the head. And so by this point, I had 8 recorded concussions. Started to get some pretty bad side effects from that, and it was starting to affect me in school and university, having trouble focusing, remembering things. I had sensitivity to light, which I still get in the mornings, but that's when I kind of decided to hang up the skates. And yeah, so that was kind of like a pivotal moment for me. I had played hockey and dedicated most of my life to this sport, and I wasn't phenomenal at it by any means, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed being around the guys, and so that took up most of my time. So I had a bunch of free time on my hands, and I'm a very competitive person, so I wasn't really sure exactly what I was going to do with myself at this point. But I had already been training for a while, and at this point I had been like trying to build muscle and build like a good physique for like 2 years. I was eating the chicken, rice, and broccoli, 3 times a day, eating my protein pancakes, and I'd have like, my post-workout shakes were probably like whole milk, ice cream, peanut butter, and a bunch of protein. I was just doing whatever I can to put on weight because I'm naturally a very skinny guy and I have a lot of trouble putting on size. So with my little knowledge at the time, that's what I kind of resorted to. Over the course of that following year, I was kind of unsure of what I was going to do with myself. I'd lost a lot of like motivation and drive because I was missing that main thing in my life that gave me purpose. So I spent that kind of year trying to find that purpose, and essentially someone came up to me in the gym. It was the biggest guy at the gym. It was Morgan McDonald, actually. Came up to me at Good Life, and he said, you look pretty good, man. Have you ever thought about competing? And I was like, I have no idea what that entails, but I will look into it. And so he said that, Luke, who was my first coach, Luke Vokey, he referred me to him, and he was like, listen, this guy will be great for, coaching men's physique. You should hit him up and, look at competing sometime. So that was kind of like a pivotal point for me. And I started my first bodybuilding prep, I think at like 9 weeks out, which is not very typical. For those of you who don't know bodybuilding, typically a bodybuilding prep will be like 20 weeks, 16, 20 weeks. So, but I was lean, I was in shape. It was definitely a shock at how much effort and sacrifice that prep took. And I mean, I was in university at the time. Like, I was on a work term at a physio clinic, so I was working there full time. I was in the military part time, so I was doing that a couple nights a week. And then I was also working at a supplement store a couple nights a week. So the supplement store was good because it kind of allowed me to eat my meals there. I got a discount on supplements, and I didn't really have to do a whole lot. But yeah, that was definitely, you know, a really grueling 9 weeks of, you know, trying to fit things in my schedule, find time to train, find time to do my cardio, find time to prep my meals. And that's kind of how my first prep went, and I absolutely loved it. I'll put up some pictures here of kind of what I looked like at the beginning of prep and then what I looked like when I actually competed. Yeah, so a couple of the really common questions that I got on this video were obviously, you know, do you take PEDs? Is this attainable naturally? And I'll get to that later when I started taking PEDs. But this first prep was totally natural. I didn't even know what steroids really were at the time. I didn't even know what really bodybuilding entailed. So this prep, I started out at, I think I was around 200 pounds or like 195 when I started this prep. And I competed at, I want to say like 170, 175. I don't remember exactly, but that was kind of around where I was. And I was really happy with how I looked. I think we brought a great package to the stage for my first show. And then from there, after I competed for the first time, I was like, okay, I really enjoy this. This is something that I want to like put my focus on. It gave me purpose. It kind of scratched that competitive itch that I have, and it was really good for me. So I kind of, you know, was like, okay, this is what I want to do moving forward. This is what I want to focus on. And you know, when I kind of put my mind to something, I go all in. It's just like I'm putting all my chips into one basket. So after this first show, I was not the smartest, and I ate way too much food after the show, and I gained, I think, 30 pounds back immediately within 3 weeks after the show. And obviously I was holding a lot of water. I mean, I looked like shit in just a matter of a couple weeks, from looking at my very best to looking terrible. You know, obviously that was a learning experience for me, and that's something that I'm able to kind of tell my clients about and relate to them for. So that's honestly, every mistake that I made along my journey, it's been a learning experience for me, and it also helps me relate to my clients who are competing for their first time, and I'm able to kind of help them and not make the same mistakes that I did. So fast forward a year after that, so I competed in 2019, and 2021 was the next time I competed. So not a year, but it was probably a year and a half difference, I think. So yeah, trained that whole off season naturally. I think I got up to around 220 pounds. So I put on, after the show, obviously I put on that immediate 30 pounds. Then I kind of tightened things up with my diet, and this here is kind of how I was looking in the off season per se, before I competed in my next show. And my next show, obviously, you know, I started prep a lot earlier. We had a lot more time to prepare for the show, and I got leaner than I've ever been. Now in this show, I competed in classic physique for the first time. So my first show, I competed in men's physique, and that's the category that you wear board shorts in. So it's mostly focused on like a beach body look, and you're more so focused on the upper body. My next prep went a lot more smoothly. You know, I took my time with it. I did things properly. I was still completely natural for this prep. It was this prep that I really started to kind of post on TikTok, and that's when all the fake natty accusations came out that people said I was using steroids. And meanwhile, I was, you know, 190 pounds. Really, if you saw me in person, I'm not that big. But online, obviously, you look a lot bigger than you do in person. If you saw me in person in a t-shirt, I feel like if you still saw me in person in a t-shirt, you'd probably say, oh, that guy definitely works out, but you wouldn't think I'm like a competitive bodybuilder by any means. So definitely at the time, that was kind of cool for me. It was also annoying because I know I had worked so hard to get this physique, and it was just because I was lean and muscular and vascular that people were like, oh, this guy takes steroids. It's kind of just, it discredits your hard work, which is the annoying part of it. But I also understand now that a lot of people don't have any idea what it takes to kind of achieve this physique and what you actually need to do to get there. So it's a lack of knowledge on a lot of people's part, and most people are just kind of ignorant to the fact that, okay, this guy has been, you know, training for 3 years now, like dedicated hypertrophy training, eating the right meals, doing all the right things. You know, I was killing myself dieting, cardio every day, training really hard, doing all the right things. My biggest thing, it's not hard for me to get lean. I'm naturally a lean guy. It's more so hard for me to put on size. So I can get really lean, I can get shredded, and that's where like the kind of, I guess, freaky, unnatural look comes from when you get lean. But like if you saw me in my off season with more body fat on, you'd say, oh, this guy doesn't even take steroids, because I've gotten that too. So that was my second prep, and that was my last natural bodybuilding show. So I did 2 natural shows before I decided to commit to taking PEDs. So 3 to 4 months later, after my second natural show where I competed in men's physique and classic physique, this is how I looked in men's physique. I'll do a little comparison between my first men's physique show and my second men's physique show, and this is how I looked for the classic physique division. Obviously, this is the division that I like the best. You know, I just like the symmetry and I like the aesthetic of these of the guys that are at the very top in this category, the best in the world, and that is something that I eventually want to get to. I want to be at that level, and you know, I wasn't overly pleased with how I looked, but that kind of gave me more motivation moving forward to be like, okay, I need to take this to the next level. And I knew this prep, like I knew in my head that I was a lot lighter than I had expected to be, and I knew I had lost muscle, and I had worked so hard to build that muscle because, as you natural guys know, putting on a couple pounds of muscle naturally, it takes a lot of work and it takes a long time. So to lose muscle throughout this prep was disappointing to me, and I was like, I never want to do this again. So that was kind of a big driving factor for me deciding to take PEDs. And then 3 or 4 months after this show, you know, I let my body kind of come back to a natural maintainable levels of body fat. I'll put up a picture of me sometime throughout the summer after the show of kind of how I looked. So I put on some body fat. I was feeling good. So my third off season, what you guys will see in this clip here. So throughout this viral video that I posted, I did like my first bulk, first cut, second bulk, second cut, and then my third bulk is when I started taking PEDs. So you guys can see that here. I think this physique is very much so attainable naturally. It's just gonna take a long time. And like anything, like you could probably achieve the physique I have now. It's just you're probably going to be, you know, 35, 40 before you get there. It's gonna take probably 20 years of natural training to get there, right? I did 2 cycles before I decided to prep again. Yeah, so fast forward like 8 months is kind of how long I spent bulking between these shows. And I did 2 cycles and then I started my prep. So this is how I was looking at the end of this off season. I took a vacation before my prep, got a little fatter, got a little softer, so I wasn't looking great, but that made for a really good prep transformation, I guess you could say. And this is how I was looking, like, you know, a couple weeks out for my show. I'll put up some show day pictures here as well. Overall, I was very, very pleased with this package. One of my good friends, Morgan, was coaching me at this time, and I think he did a great job coaching me. I was happy with how I looked on stage, and the main feedback from the judges for the show was that I just need to be bigger. You know, my posing was pretty good. I had a great presence on stage, and you know, my structure overall I think is very good for classic. So for example, just to give you guys a little bit more knowledge on classic physique and I guess bodybuilding in general, the classic physique category has weight caps based on your height. So me being 6'2", I'm between 6'2" and 6'3", so my weight cap is 239 for amateurs. When I turn pro, whenever that might be, I'll get an extra 10 pounds added to that cap. So it'll be 249 on stage. And that's gonna be like, I'm 245 now. So I need to be this plus 4 pounds and shredded, like single digit body fat, for me to be, you know, competitive on a pro stage. So at this show, me right here, I think the lightest I was all prep was 208 pounds, and I probably stepped on stage around like 212. And yeah, so I was really happy with my package this show. Like I said, the feedback from the judges, so I just need to be bigger. Those are all the shows I've done so far. Up to this point, my fourth cut, sorry. So you guys can see my fourth bulk here, where I was like 260. This is the heaviest I've ever been. I was quite fat. I think I might have gotten a little too fat on this bulk, but I do think that in your early stages of, you know, bodybuilding and trying to build muscle, it does require you to put on more body fat. And you'll notice that like as you get bigger, as you build more muscle, you're not going to gain body fat as easily because you have so much muscle, and that requires so much more energy. So you're able to eat a lot more food when you have more muscle, just because your body requires more energy in order to kind of pump blood to those muscles and just function on a daily basis. So back to this. So this is me on my fourth bulk. This was last summer and I was 260 pounds. And then fast forward to the new year. So this is like, this video here is me in like January. And this was like, I started working with a new coach here, and we did a fairly aggressive cut, and I got pretty lean pretty quickly. Like I said earlier, like I get lean fairly easily. So we did this in a matter of like 8 weeks. So this is me when I started with my coach, and then this is me kind of like, peak cut, right? So I didn't prep. This was not for a bodybuilding show, so I was not as lean as I would have been in the previous clips. So last show, the leanest I was 208. Here at this cut, now I wasn't as lean as my last show, but I was probably pretty close. And here I was around 226, 227 was around the lightest I got. And I'm now currently 245, between 245 and 250. So this was not included in the video, but I'll show you guys kind of a little video here now of what I look like currently. I still maintained a fairly lean physique, and we're not pushing food super hard. I'm still eating probably around 5,000 calories, but in order for me to get to 260 right here, like I was last summer, I was literally driving around with like a box of Pop-Tarts in my car, just eating whenever I could in order to try to put on size. I was just chasing a number on the scale, essentially. So not what I would recommend. So we live and learn. Don't do that. There's a lot of other reasons that we can get into in another video, but I'm telling you now, it's not worth it. Don't do it. You're not going to feel good. But yeah, so essentially, this is what I'm currently looking like now. My plan for the future. A lot of comments on the video were, I can't wait for the fifth cut or the fifth bulk. So I guess right now is what we would consider my fifth bulk. This is where I currently am. This is what I currently look like. Now I probably will gain some more body fat on top of this, because I would think we're going to continue trying to get bigger, or massing. We call this a massing phase, until probably 2025. So I think in the new year, that's when I'll start prepping for my next show. I haven't picked out a show yet, but that'll be a decision that me and my coach make when the time comes. I'm in no rush to step on stage. I know that I still have a lot of room for improvement before I'm really competitive on a national stage. I'll give you guys a quick rundown on what it takes to become a pro bodybuilder here in Canada. So essentially, you have to compete in a regional show. Anybody can do a regional show. You have to place top 3 in your category. So mine would be classic physique. It would be my height class. I would have to place top 3 in that category. Placing top 3 then gets me a qualification to go to nationals. So in nationals, what I would have to do is I would have to win my height class at nationals. And then once you win your height class, the winners of every height class, so I think I'm in probably class D or E, depending on how many competitors there are. The winner from each class then goes to an overall, and in order to get your pro card, you have to win the overall. So you have to be really, really good in order to get your pro card, obviously. And I've been going to the national shows for like a couple years now as a spectator, and seeing the level of competition at these shows, I know that I have a lot of room to improve, to even stand next to these guys that are at the top. So my goal for my next prep is really just to compete at a regional show and hopefully win my class, if not at least place in the top 3 of my class, and then that'll get me a qualification for nationals. I want to compete at nationals, see how I kind of stack up against some of the best in the country, and then we'll take things from there. See how I do, get the judges' feedback, and then go back to the drawing board and continue to make improvements, because that is what this sport is all about. Just continuous improvement, and I think that's why I like it so much. It's just like, you're forever chasing, not necessarily a perfect physique, but my mentality is you're forever chasing like a perfect day. So, a day where you sleep good, your training's good, you eat all your meals, you do all these things, and then those perfect days turn into perfect weeks, perfect months, and that is how you build a good physique. Like there's so much that goes into actually making this progress. You know, whether you take steroids or not, you know, you still have to do so much work in order to do that. The steroids are just kind of improving your recovery and helping you grow at a faster rate because you're putting in all this work. Regardless of whether you take steroids or not, you still have to put in the same amount of work. You're just going to get more results essentially. And personally, I think I would never encourage anyone to take steroids unless their goal is to become a pro bodybuilder. You know, obviously, if you choose to take them, that is completely personal. That's your decision. But, you know, you are putting your health at risk. And it's also just another variable that you have to worry about and you have to stress about. It's one thing to, you know, track your training progress, eat meals, prep your meals, you know, ensure you're drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. And then you throw PEDs on top of that, and you have to ensure that you're taking the right supplementation to keep your health in check. And honestly, the supplements that you have to take on top of taking the PEDs are expensive. They're more expensive than even taking the PEDs. And if you're gonna take PEDs, you need to take these health supplements in order to stay healthy throughout the process. And then you have to poke yourself with a needle every other day. And that sucks. I hate doing it. On top of that, you have to get your blood work done, you know, quarterly. You have to donate blood, and you have to do all these other things in order to keep your health in check. And with that comes a lot more stress and a lot more responsibility. So that's obviously something you need to consider before you jump into doing something like this. So I feel like I've given you guys a pretty good idea now of my backstory, kind of my bodybuilding journey, where I am now. The reason I haven't been posting on YouTube for the past one and a half, 2 years is because my main priority over the past 2 years has just been growing my online coaching business to a point where I can do it full time. And it was a little over a year ago that I was able to do this. I was able to quit my job at home and move to Ontario to, you know, train at the best gym in the world and focus all my attention on becoming the best bodybuilder I possibly can. And so I'm very blessed to be in this position. I'm very grateful. And, you know, on top of that, I just love what I do. I love helping people on their fitness journey and just improve their lives through fitness. So with that being said, I do want to get back to YouTube because I do enjoy this. If you guys look over my channel, you'll see that in the past, I've mostly just documented all my preps. So I'll usually start posting vlogs and stuff like that to kind of document my preps, because I'm so glad that I've done this because I can look back on all my preps and kind of see how much I've grown, not just physically, but mentally. I mean, I'm sure if you look back at my first prep videos, there's probably some videos where I'm almost crying because, you know, I'm so overwhelmed by the whole process and how much work it's taking. And you know, it's cool to look back at that sort of thing, right? And see kind of how far you've come. So I definitely want to get back to posting YouTube more frequently. I'm not sure how frequently. I'm not going to tell you guys I'm going to post every week, but I'm definitely going to try to post a couple times a month. And if you guys have any further questions or need more help with this, you can DM me on Instagram. This is my Instagram here, Ryan Shea Fitness. I'm Ryan Shea Fitness on TikTok as well. You guys can follow me there. But yeah, reach out to me on Instagram. I do offer one-on-one coaching. So if you are wanting to take, you know, this serious, and you know, you want to take your physique to the next level and you want to invest in yourself, then I'm here to help you. I can guide you along the process, help you avoid all the mistakes that I made along the way, and really just fast track your progress. So that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.